All right, welcome back to another edition of the Garage Gym Experiment podcast. This time I have a couple guys from RipFit. Got Matt and Tom, who I think they've been at the company for Matt's been there shorter than Tom. So looking forward to hearing, just the background on RipFit, what they're up to lately, and then I have some kind of specific questions I want to ask them about as well, that relates specifically to their brand. I met them at HomeGymCon, really nice guys. Um, yeah, so let's just dive in. Matt, Tom, thanks again for being here. Would you guys just mind kicking us off with just a little bit of background on yourself, maybe outside of RipFit?
Yeah, sure. I can start first. So I came to stay for high school and college back in 2010, and I ended up with a degree in public administration. Initially, that's what I wanted to do, work in a public sector or a nonprofit organization, helping people out. That's what I really wanted to do. But after graduation, I just feel like, okay, the little things it changed in my mind, okay, I probably want to do private sector this time. And luckily I got a job, at a local tortilla chip and tortilla export company. All right.
Okay.
So they export tortilla chips to East Asia. We have some touches in Middle East, and we sold some to South Africa. So that was the place where I grow my interest, my passion in international trade and international logistics, and also I'd be able to utilize my, language skill, being able to speak another language. And later on, I just went back to school, pursue several MBA courses, kind of have better understanding of business, like international logistic, accounting and finance, and so on. Um, After the MBA program, I just moved down south to Los Angeles, and I found a job in an international logistic company. That's where I handle the shipment from the port to mainly Amazon fulfillment center, or other third party fulfillment center. I kind of coordinate from the port. It involved with custom and trucking and all this stuff, and it just developed skills in sourcing, pricing, and integration of different resources, kind of connecting the dot. I kind of happy got the job, talking to various parties. Um, yeah, that was pretty much it before I joined RipFit.
Okay. And how many years ago did you join RipFit?
So I joined RipFit by the end of 2017, and actually I met
17?
the 2017. Yeah, so it's almost 8 years from
Yeah.
now. But I started just same job I had previously, as a logistics specialist. Just the only difference, I was focusing on different products, from little items to large items. But with BitFit, I only focus on gym equipment and fitness gears and stuff. And by the time I really enjoyed doing fitness training, and I think that's how I started with BitFit.
Okay. Uh, Tom, fun fact about myself is I
Hmm.
actually got a master's degree in public administration with a focus on nonprofit management.
Okay.
And I also found myself, my first job out of school was actually in the private sector, and I was like, "Oh, this is better." All right, Matt, what about you? Tell us about
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah. So I kind of shared my RitFit story a few weeks ago back on another podcast, but kind of before my time joining RitFit. So I'm originally from California, and my son's 16, so we moved over here about 15 years ago to first to Tennessee for a year, then Kentucky for like 7, and then we've been in Ohio for the last like 9 years. I don't know if that maths,
Mhm.
it equals 15 years. So anyhow, but yeah, through work, I've been in manufacturing a long time. The manufacturing industry, like specifically the automotive, aerospace, basically metal manufacturing. So you know, as I was younger, before I started my professional career, I had a lot of time in construction. My father owned a construction company, so I learned how to put things together, take things apart, build things, figure out how, you know, hey, how does this fit together? You have this vanity top that you got to get in here and it won't fit. Do you cut the drywall, right? And slide it in and then set it down? Do you cut the countertop? Do you, right? You know, so a lot of problem solving skills built kind of back in the construction industry. And then for anybody who's been in automotive, the Toyota Production System or TPS is basically all built around. It's like the world class industry for the automotive manufacturing is the Toyota Production System or lean manufacturing, and that's all based around getting better and problem solving. They call it so like DIY Kaizen, right? Kaizen Kyle, right? So I don't know where he gets the term Kaizen from, but Kaizen is change for the better. You know, and that's something the automotive industry really ingrains in you and teaches you a lot about problem solving, A3s, things like that. So anyhow, spent a lot of time there, kind of climbing through the ranks. I started out as a temporary, you know, team member on the shop floor, making parts for cars. You know, I had two kids, wife, had to work, so that's what I did, and quickly, again, just like anything I try to do is just how do I do it better? You know, how do I do it better? How do I be more efficient? How do I figure this out? You know, I don't want to say uh, I'm lazy, but I want to figure out the best way how to do it to where I don't have to touch it again, right? You know, I want to try to do it right the first time, right? You know, so that way I don't have to come back to it. And with that being said, you know, when the opportunity kind of presented itself with RitFit, kind of first started out with me tinkering around with their gym equipment. Right, I bought one of their racks. I bought a leg press. I started messing around with it. How do I make it better? You know, I made a lat pull down extension. I made a cable ratio system that you could go from 2 to 1 and 1 to 1 as an afterthought on our M1. Also, you know, sent over the team. And this was all before I worked, right? This is just, you know,
Right.
the excitement, right? Of, hey, I figured something out. I figured out how to make it better, right? You know, and just sharing that, you know, just willingly with the team. And so, anyways, that's kind of what led me into RitFit and kind of my how my history ties into the equipment from, you know, like I said, how to make things better, how to problem solve it, how to, you know, pretty much like have an engineering background and just able to support, you know, the manufacturing of our products, testing it, things like that. So
Got it. So how long so you bought a RipFit product, you used it, you made some adjustments, you sent that to the team. How long until you became an employee, or how many different times did you do this before they offered you a job?
yeah, so it was a pretty wild ride. Um, you know, and not in a bad way, but it was like it was pretty quick. But it was pretty like everything was unknown. You know, and so Tom, he was internet at an international location, but Summer from the social media team, she's like, hey, she knew that I was from California, right? You know, but she didn't know that I didn't live in California. She thought I lived in California still. And so basically, she's like, "Hey, Tom's gonna be at our showroom um, this coming week. Do you want to be the first customer to go to see our showroom?" And so I was like, "Sure." And so I essentially went over like on my own dime. It's like $800, you know, for a ticket from Ohio to California. You know, I was like, "Let me go meet Tom. Let me go, you know, check this Fit place out. Let me go check out the showroom." You know, I like the equipment. You know, so far what I knew about the company, I like the company. And so I did, you know, I booked a ticket and, you know, I think she was like messaged me on Thursday and I think on Monday I was out there or Tuesday I was out there. So, but yeah, so I went over there, met Tom, didn't really know what, was going to come of it. I just come and to meet, meet Tom, right? You know, the guy who runs the showroom, you know, and now we're like, you know, best friends, but anyhow, So I didn't know what was to come of it. We went to Starbucks. Tom's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go get some coffee." So went and got some coffee. Um, and then he was surprised and shocked that I didn't live in California. And so then at that point, because they were looking for somebody, right, to be a part of their showroom and things like that. And at that point, it was like, okay, well, kind of pause. What the heck's going on, right? This guy, we thought he lived in California. We need somebody for our showroom. He lives in Ohio. This ain't gonna work, right? So we ended up, talking. We met. We had a good time. Went to lunch. Got to know each other a little bit. I went back home. Tom stayed around town. So basically, over the next, I don't know, 4 to 6, 8 weeks, is back and forth of like, hey, how are we going to make this work? What can we do? We really like you, Matt, and we appreciate that you like our products and that you support us. And, we like what you're, bringing to the table from the product ideas and innovations. Um, so how could we work together? So we ended up working up, like just basically a contracted deal to be an independent contractor for RitFit. Obviously, kind of with all the other stuff, right? Contracts and signing paperwork and all that other good stuff. But that was done, taken care of, and so I was probably a contractor for about 4 to 5 months, and then after that, it was we weren't thinking. So we were actually it was Home Gym Con is the mark, Jake. So like, excuse me and Tom's like, Matt, I think we're gonna be ready to bring you on full time 2026 before Home Gym Con 2026. So
Mm.
I'm like, all right, Home Gym Con, let's go. And so anyways, yeah, it happened real quickly about 4 or 5 months in of being a contractor. The position, got offered to me, and I've been loving it so far. So
That's cool. So what's a typical day look like for you then, Matt?
yeah, so I think as we go into the rest of the questions and conversations, we'll talk about RitFit, we'll talk about the growth, we'll talk about um, kind of what we're doing in the future. So I think some of that
Hmm.
will be alluded to, and then, but so I mean, just a spoiler alert, uh, so my day is going to be changing. We just signed a lease agreement for a workshop out here in Ohio, to where we're going to be doing some testing, of equipment, some designing of equipment. So, some of our equipment's going to be tested and designed right here, in Ohio. So, um,
Nice. That's cool.
but yeah, so lots of stuff is my daily is going to be changing, because I'm going to be going over here and we're going to be setting up this facility. It's not a huge facility, but enough to do what we're going to need to be doing. It's very, very convenient, really close to my house. So it's be a nice setup. But right now, just really trying to ingrain in the community, with RitFit, all of us on the leadership team with RitFit. That's what we're all about, is like, so all your podcasts, we all watch them, right? All
Mm.
of the customer feedback in, the community, we watch them, we listen to them. We're actively engaged in our Facebook community, on the Instagram community. uh, I basically use my equipment and will just start drawing up different ways and different new products, and then I'll send that to our design team. Well, they'll actually draw it up in CAD, right? And then take that CAD drawing, right, and then put it in and get a rendering, right? And then we'll start going through our weekly meetings and reviewing the new products with the rest of the management team, the rest of the engineering team, and so on and so forth. So, but yeah, as we, I think, go along with the rest of the conversation, we'll kind of see how my part plays into RitFit.
Mhm.
I will say that uh, although RitFit, we've been around for 10 years, we're still learning, we're still growing, we're still adjusting, right? And I think that's the right thing to do. They say, right, and in manufacturing, if you're not if you're not growing, you're dying, right? If you're
Mhm.
not learning, you're dying. So, I think that's one good thing about, one of the many things I like about this organization is that we're humble, and we're willing to learn, and we're still a part of the little things, right? The little things matter to us. So, but yeah, with that being said, I think as we go through the rest of the podcast here, or some of those questions, we'll kind of hear some of that.
Cool. Yeah. Well, congrats on the shop. That's very cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it sounds like
Thank
you
you.
guys are on the same page, which is cool to hear. Um, and Tom, maybe this next question is best for you. It'd be great
Mm,
to hear your knowledge of the origin story, and then just like a quick progression as how the company has evolved over the years.
yeah, for sure. Because like I started with RipFit back in 2017, right? I kind of knew like the original RipFit, but like I relate it to our owner of the RipFit, because like as part like his personal life. All I really knew is that like we started as Amazon seller, starting with like fitness gears, like yoga mat, like resistance bands, you can name it. Really promote that like mobility, accessibility to our customers. I would say the major shift or change was back in 2018 when we began developing like and selling heavy equipment, specifically squat rack. This change, I would say ahead of COVID, it really led to like explosive growth for the company since like you got the demand, the home gym equipment surge, right? We just evolved from being just another Amazon seller to a recognized brand during that period. Like people bought our stuff, like kind of know about RipFit. And later on, like we kind of seize the opportunity to develop more like the weight plate and barbells, like we can go with the rack. And later on, like we develop like low body machines and all the functional trainers to provide this comprehensive solution to our customers. I would say this is really the biggest change so far. If we didn't really take that route, like RipFit not gonna be RipFit today. We probably would be just like another Amazon seller, still surviving on Amazon, right? So that really shift our focus on just purely sales driven to like more customer and product driven model in terms like business model. um Fast forward like during the history of RipFit, there's another change is that like we have our first international market in 2021. So we enter the Japanese market, like start selling our RipFit product in Japan. That really give us like a first print like outside the US. And definitely like we want to be a global company, like aims like establish more footprints probably in the future in Europe or like some part in North America. This year there's a lot that happened, right? Lot of things happened. For example, like we opened our showroom, we have more connection, we have home gym community. We went to like our first HomeGymCon, and for me, it's my first time too. Like, we learned so much from the Home Gym Con, and definitely a milestone for the company. I think that, like, above what I just said, like, all the major shift and change, like, what RipFit is today.
Got it. So you started off, you have some products you're selling on Amazon, not really recognized brand, but over time, you slowly but surely, you kept the brand, which kind of like leads me to my next question is, you see a lot of companies who are selling on Amazon. Those the names sound really random, and they're usually in and out, in and out. Do you have any idea how many companies, since you've been doing this, have started selling, let's just say like a similar rack to yours, and they sell it for months at a time and then they they go away. um, any sort of insight into like how that works, and what are some trends you've seen over the past 8, 9 years since you've been in this? That would be really interesting to me.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, if you want to start a business, like, in any countries, like, I think Amazon right now is definitely a way to go. And since you're or small business, and you don't really get a lot of recognition. That's the place like where you can get traffic easily than like just your own brand. So over the time, like, you talk about a lot of brands like, just come and go. That's also, you have to take a path, like, to develop your own website, to like, diversify your sales channels. That's how you get your name out there. And right now, like, Amazon is still equally important, I would say, for the next few years. I'm kind of accounting guy. So just looking at the stack, like, in 2024, the market share for Amazon was 37%. And surprisingly, like we thought, like, it would decrease because, like, we have all this emerging sales channels, like, like TikTok Live, like, Walmart Online, all these platforms, like, are growing. So, but surprisingly, in 2025, the market share they projected, like, to become 40%. It's like, few more percent increase. So like Amazon is still a platform to, like, to grow your business, but that's is not the place, like, you want to grow a business in long term. People have this behavior, like, as time grow, like, they have this customer behavior. They would go to Amazon to purchase the stuff they want. They're not searching RitFit. They pretty much just search all-in-one functional trainer, all the stuff they want to get. So Amazon is like one-stop platform for them. Um, so that's how we diversify ourselves, like, set apart from those company, just growing our own channel, like, building up our own image, for the company, over the time. You can't really just like, let your brand survive just on one basket, right? Like, you have to, bring more channels to a company, like, to see a way to, like, survive in the business.
Gotcha. And just so I'm clear, what you said was in 2024, Amazon made up 37% of all home gym purchases, and it's projected
It's
to go
just
even.
sorry, that's the total market share. I didn't really look
Okay.
into, like, the
Okay.
specific, but I would get into it, like, later. But like I would say, like, in total, that was the market share they kind of projected, and then also they share online.
That's pretty crazy.
Yes.
That's a big number of all purchases. Um,
I'd just like to make a note or a comment on that. I think if you go to, like Jake, you were saying, all how many brands, right, will go out there. I mean, there's brands that are like called XYZ742 and they're selling these dumbbells,
yeah,
right? If you go to their brand, they're selling, or their store, their Amazon storefront, they're selling, cosmetics, they're selling, right, anything that they could get their hands on, I think, from a wholesale perspective. And I think that's where we have separated kind of ourselves, is that we branded, right. We have a core message. It's our motto, right, is simple, strong, and effective equipment for the home gym community. And then we're also transitioning into where we have different tiers for the different, hey, if you want $1,000 price range, we got something for you. If you want $2,500 price range, we got something for you. If you want $5,000 price range, we got something for you. But I think that's what the owner of the company had kind of set the course for RitFit was, hey, we're going to have a core message. We're going to be somebody. We're not just going to be a fly by night Amazon brand, because we're not a fly by night Amazon brand. What we are is we're a company. Our name's RitFit. We're simple, strong, and effective. And it's cool to see that that decision happened back then before I started, but in all of our product meetings that we have, right, it all goes back to, hey, is what we're building simple, strong, and effective, right? So keeping us solid and grounded into, who we are. I think, again, that's that branding, right? Um, so I think Amazon was huge and is huge, and it's important. I think anybody who has a business, why would you not use that platform, right? Like the platform is there, it's available. Does it cost? Yeah. If I want to sell something on Amazon, or Jake, if you want to sell something on Amazon, yeah, there's a cost. And then if you want them to manage your, inventory, there's a cost too, right? And that's why, we're continuously trying to grow our website, right? And our marketing, right? To, if people want to buy off Amazon, go ahead. But there's other discounts and deals and point systems that you could earn, on our website that you can earn on Amazon, right? Because of those reasons, right? Such as, right, the how the inventory is managed and all that. Um, but yeah, so I mean, I just wanted to that the story where it comes to, hey, the owner decided that we're going to be somebody. We're not going to be XYZ7452. We're going to be RitFit, and we're going to be, right, simple, strong, and effective. We're going to build that type of equipment for the home gym community, and make it accessible.
And when did the owner decide that? Like right when the company started, or was it like few years in? This is something we need to do if we're going to make it for the next 10, 20, 30 years. We need to be very focused. Do you have any insight into when that happened?
I don't. Tom may have more when those types of conversations were happening. Um, so I actually met, the first time I met the owner was at HomeGymCon. So I bugged the crap out of him, right? I was asking him all kinds of questions about the company, and how did he start it? Why did he start it? And as Tom said, right, he some of it has to go into his personal life, right? What he wanted to do and accomplishments, for himself as a person, right? So it's really cool to pick his brain, but yeah, I don't have that answer. Maybe Tom has, how long ago maybe that was. Tom, do you recall when that might have been?
Yeah, I mean, like, once we knew, like, we're getting recognized by, like, our home gym community, as soon as, like, we know we sell a lot of this product. That's when we determined just about, like, the home gym community, home gym product for the home gym community to offer, like, budget friendly product to the customers. That's when, like, determined to do it, like, back in 2018. The owner of the company, he always tell us, like, he's also the product engineer, like, wanting to, like, hands-on, like, inspection on all the product, we want to sell out. So it really shows our determination, like, where we want to go for this, like, in this market, in home gym community.
Got it. So it's been around a while. Okay.
Yeah.
What about, so I remember going up to your booth at Home Gym Con, and I was talking to you guys, and I don't remember exactly what I how I said it, but I said something along the lines of you're a budget brand, you're a budget brand. And I I I truly believe this. I think there's so many different avenues for somebody to start a home gym. Um, and one of them is like very, very budget friendly. You can also go all in and buy something for $7,000 to start your home gym. And I did make a comment about it being a budget brand, and you guys were like, yeah, but we've also you guys were like, yeah, but we also have some cool stuff coming. We've been working on some stuff. So I have thought about that. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I'd be curious to hear what are some maybe misconceptions about your brand that you've heard out there that you don't really think to be the case, or maybe there are certain things that are just a little bit misunderstood.
I think
Yeah.
that in and of itself, Jake, I think as the business has grown and how we started, right, was a budget brand, right? When you start any business, you start small, right? And there's a path forward, right? And that path forward is growth. Um, and I think when you think in terms of investment, right? Hey, when RitFit started out, we started with medicine balls, right? Then rubber band, right? Bands and things like that, right? And as you grow, right, those items are really small, really cheap, and as you grow your sales, right, you're able to reinvest back into the business and invest back into equipment and factories and, raw materials and inventory and marketing and all that other good stuff. So I think for me, one misconception about our brand is that, we are strictly a budget brand. I'll tell you that I bought the M1 for a couple reasons. One, it was $1,000, right? It was in my price range, what I was looking for. It gets me in. It comes with everything I needed, cable systems. It has a Smith machine. You can do, free weight exercises on it. It's got pull-up bar for $1,000. Like, and the weight capacity is 1,600 pounds. I mean, that's all I need. You know what I mean? It'd be cool. You could have, yeah, if you want, you could have a 6x6 post, 6x6 10 post rack in my basement. But I don't need that, right? So I think for those people that, like, life's tough. For a lot of people, the economy's not as nice as it once was. So having the opportunity for us to be able to provide those solutions, that are simple, strong, and effective, for people that are in the 500, we have $500 products. Like if you want a cable system, power rack, we got a $500 one, like, so depending on your budget, you could get in. We want to provide that solution. But like you said, when you come talk to us at HomeGymCon, we do have a 3x3 rack that's in the works. That's 11 gauge. We just upgraded our 2x2 uprights to be 11 gauge, right? If you go on our, and you know what? They're like super affordable. Like they're, right now, I think it's like for two uprights, it's like $110. Like that's pretty dang good. You know what I mean? For two uprights, that's going to change, your weight capacity and all that other stuff. So, for me, that's one thing. And we actually had some people go to the showroom, some bodybuilders, they've, won competitions and things like that. We had them come to our showroom and, hey, could you test out our equipment for us? Would this work for you? Does this match the level of something that you could use? Right. And we didn't pay these guys, right, to say, hey, yeah, or anything like that. We just honestly wanted the feedback. But yeah, so for me, that's one thing. Like I want to change that image of what you were talking about is, hey, are we a budget brand? Do we have budget products? Yes. Do we have something that you could get into for 500 to $1,000, $2,000, whatever your budget? Yes. Are we a budget brand? Are we an Amazon brand? No, we're RitFit. We're simple, strong, and effective equipment for the home gym community. We're humble, right? We're going to listen to you guys, and we're going to take that feedback and do something with it. So that's the misconception, and from my opinion, of our brand. But Tom may have a different opinion, and that's one I'm actually
Well,
passionate about because I
yeah,
believe
this is
I
like
believe in
a
the brand.
yeah. Yeah, I do have like a little bit different opinion to it. I mean, like, this definitely one of the misconception, like, misunderstanding of RipFit, being just strictly a budget brand. Um, like, that's how we started, like, put like, low cost, budget friendly equipment. But it got challenged when we introduced some equipment like, on HomeGymCon. We brought out AMP2 and also Buffalo Wild, um, and also a price point between like, 2,500 to 2,700 dollars was mentioned on one of the Coop's videos. So like one of the comment really caught my attention is like, RipFit isn't a budget brand anymore. People getting upset about like, RipFit is not providing budget product. So like, definitely we want to stick to like, what we offer, what we could get like, to our customer at in terms of the price point. But also as the brand grows, right? Like, we have to grow with the customers. They started with something like, entry level equipment, like, 2x2, 40 gauge steel. And what about after 3 to 5 years, they want to upgrade to like, better, higher tier equipment. That's something like, we can offer as well. So like, we were committed to do like, what we usually do, like, providing different tiers of equipment to our customer. And it's that's how we started. We're just honoring our, our region.
Cool. Well, you've mentioned Home Gym Con a few times now. I would love to hear from your perspective, like before you signed up, what did the conversations at your company look like? Like, should we go to this event? I don't know. Yada yada. I would just, as the organizer, curious to hear, what did those conversations look like? Were they how many conversations did it take for you guys to finally pull the trigger on signing up for Home Gym Con?
Yeah, it's actually started back in 2024. Like, even before we had an idea, going back to US, like, open a showroom, in California. Even before that, we already started conversation to be part of the HomeGymCon. I think that, like, of course, like, we whether we should do it or not, like, as definitely there is a risk and also opportunity, like, coexisting, and that really give us a push. Like, it just serve as like the motivation for the company to grow. I believe so. Like, and for that goal, I let's see, like, I see HomeGymCon as the final exam, right? The other con just like a midterms. So like, we had to work hard for the final exam. Like, we want to present the best works, like, we can present to our customers. That's the goal. I think it would just serve that, like, goals, that purpose to the company. So HomeGymCon is really the milestone we have to hit, like, for the first time. And moving forward, definitely we can have like second time, third time. And we were just like, set a goal, like, next time what we're gonna bring to the table, what experience we can learn from each HomeGymCon. And that's something like, we grow, as we grow, that's what we get along the way. Or-
Cool. It's like a year to year target that you
Right.
want to get better
Exactly.
for. Yeah.
Right.
Um, well, tell me, you had probably conversations with hundreds of different people at your booth. Be curious to hear what your key takeaways were from attending Home Gym Con.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway, like, is that, like, be able to talk to customers. Because, like, what you see at the Home Gym Con is a whole bunch of, like, gym nerd, like, gym equipment enthusiasts, unlike, those traditional trade show, like, I think, like, the AP show, like, Matt just attended. It went great, but, like, it's just not, you're not getting, like, the same atmosphere, like, you could get at a Home Gym Con. So you're getting a lot of ideas from those people who really know about product, and then, like, you can get the details, like, and then go back, you can modify on the prototype you have, or like, existing product you have. That really the part that, like, we learn so much. Um and other than that, like, I was, fit on the ground, like, whole day. I didn't really get a chance to kind of walk around. I think, like, for next year, I probably will spend more time to go to talk to, like, different brand owner, like, kind of exchange ideas, like, how they grow the business, how they, innovate their product. I think the only vendor I encountered was ATS, a guy called, like, Alvin, I believe, like, I'm not sure, like, I'm saying his name wrong. Very humble, very nice guy. He's invited us to his booth, like, talk about, go just kind of ran over, like, the equipment, like, he had. Very nice guy. Initially, I thought, like, he was just like, the booth setup guy, for ATS. He was holding, like, a pile, a piece of box, like, going back to the Home Gym Con. Yeah. And then it turned out that, like, he was like the CEO for the North America market for ATS.
Okay, Marvin.
Yeah, Marvin. Oh, yeah, Marvin. Sorry about that. Okay. So very humble guy, very nice guy. Again, that's the takeaways, like, I got from the Home Gym Con.
Got it. Anything to add, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I know you touched on for the company, but both, personally, it was an experience. Like it was awesome. Tom said, there's a gym enthusiast and gym nerds, like, so I was going out there. I planned on going originally just, me and my wife, just to go. And I talked to you back and forth a few times. I was like, hey, could you help me out? Now I'm going with RitFit, and but anyways, like it was awesome. I've never seen nothing like it. It's amazing to see like the home, how tight knit the home, like there's again, like you were talking about the Amazon, right? The XYZ7 group of people, right? And
Mhm.
then there's the home gym community, right? That home gym community is probably a few thousand people. You know what I mean? Like, and you get the majority of them, or in one building at one point in time. So it's really cool to see everybody connect, right? You get to see these people online, you get to meet them, you get to talk to them, you get to pick their brains. things like that. So from a personal perspective, like it was an awesome experience. I would, if I wasn't with RipFit, I'd go again and again and again, regardless. And then so I did end up going with RitFit. But the feedback that I heard to give back to our brand, right, was for the most part, keep doing what you're doing. Like people, I don't know what you heard, Jake, but they loved our booth, they loved our equipment. They, uh, we make some different stuff. Like we make some of the same stuff that other people make or similar, but we make some different stuff. We don't, our patriotic plates, our leopard print plates, are right. Like there's just some things you don't see anybody else doing, and um, it's a part of the market that we've tapped into, and people seem to like it. And we're gonna keep on keeping on, but. A lot of the feedback that I heard was that, and what is also great about the home gym community is that they were coming up and giving us feedback about, hey, why don't you guys try this on your next product, right? Or on the M2 that's coming out, why don't you guys, try doing something a little bit different with this? So that's the feedback that I heard to take back to our organization was one, keep doing what you're doing, and then two, just genuinely nice people coming to give product feedback and make a connection with the brand. So
Yeah, yeah, and just to give you some kudos, I heard nothing but positive praise for the RitFit booth.
thank you.
Not only did you bring a ton of equipment, good equipment, but like everybody in there was very warm and welcoming. And, you guys just did a really good job of, just being friendly. And I would say, not knowing a ton about you guys beforehand, and I think a lot of people maybe were in that same boat, or they had the budget impression. So I don't want you to take this as an insult, but I think people were very pleasantly surprised at just your entire booth and everything you brought, not just
Thank you.
equipment, but your the overall attitude to the event. So yeah, yeah, just want to make sure we're clear on that. You guys did awesome. um, take me back, not take me back, but take me to where you're at today. Like, what are your current offerings? What's kind of the highlight of what you guys do? You can talk about specific products or an area that that's most popular, and then after that, I'm gonna ask you guys some questions about what's going on in the future. So tell me about where you guys at today.
Yeah, so about 2 months ago, we announced we're going to be releasing roughly between 8 to 12 new products. So we've been doing that over the last just couple weeks. We released, like we alluded to, some new 11 gauge 2x2 uprights. We released a 2-to-1 and 1-to-1 cable ratio system that fits on our M1. So I was when I made the prototype originally, I was pretty sure it was going to work on the M2. So now that we have the samples and everything in and we've released it, I haven't, really shared that or anything, but it'll work on. It's going to work on our M2, our new model. So you'll be able to go to switch between back and forth between 1-to-1 and 2-to-1. Um, and then the great thing about it is it's a simple solution, right? And it's definitely affordable, for our customer base. Um, we also, released some of our items that we teased at HomeGymCon with the leopard print plates, with the patriotic plates. So we've released roughly 10 to 12 products over the last little bit, and we have, I think it's like 6 more before the end of the year. So it's gonna be a tight deadline to meet. One of the highly anticipated pieces of equipment. I don't know if it's a male or female thing, but take it as you will. But it's a hip abductor adductor machine. So we announced we're going to be releasing one of those sometime in December. So we've got a ton of customers like get it out now, or else. you know, so we're basically just working on those items, trying to get those out, but the innovation never stops. We've got so much going on, in the background, from the standpoint of, I mean, I can't share all the new products that we have coming out, right? Obviously, but we got a lot in the works. We got we've got things to release over through the next year, and we're already working on all the way up till, middle of next year, so it's just we're putting ourselves on some tight limits, and we just need to meet them, again. And then um, we switched up, just so you know, Jake. We switched up like our product launch thought process. There before it was, hey, let's make a product, right? There wasn't many review points at the beginning beside like internally. So we've changed our mindset on, we're sharing more information across the board through different departments. We're cross-checking each other. Sales is checking customer service is checking, R&D, R&D's, checking marketing, right? So we're all now working together and making sure that our whole web is intertwined. Um, but we, have significantly improved our process of product development and releasing. So yeah, lots coming out. Again, the stuff from HomeGymCon that we teased, they're trickling out right now. About 6 more products through the rest of the year, and we have a lot to for 2026.
Think Matt, cover the product pretty well. I just want to talk about right now we have the showroom in the West Coast, and later on we going to have another workshop in Ohio. So we kind of have the footprint in in both West Coast and East Coast. So that's what we're going to do, to having more footprint across the country. There's a lot of potential in the future that would take us to to the next level, I would say. Like, I heard a lot of people say, okay, if we're gonna have a showroom in my area, that would be great. It's like people from Florida, people from Texas. We heard you, if there is a demand, we definitely will go for it. The future discussion will be planned it, you know, uh, and then just about the timing. Um, Definitely we're engaged with more nonprofit, local community event, in the future. We just promote this breast cancer uh month in November, and we will participate in more events in the future as we grow domestically. Um and also there's a very important event, HomeGymCon 2026, and definitely we have to prepare ahead of it by releasing good amount of products to showcase at HomeGymCon.
I think, and just like Tom's saying, Jake, I mean, we're very fluid. We want to stay that way. We want to stay flexible. We want to grow as the community grows with us. So and we want to grow with them. You know what I mean? So we are, like Tom said, opening a workshop here in Ohio where we're going to do some product development and product testing. We have the showroom in California. Also, like Tom said too, depending on customer feedback and timing, right? Do we open up another showroom in Florida or Texas or somewhere else? One of the big things about, setting up a workshop out here is, I mean, is your event, right? The home gym con, right? We're going to be able to set ourselves up, for success prior to and afterwards, for those events. We're really looking at, we went to the AB show in San Diego, just I don't know, like 2 weeks ago. We're really looking at what is the future look like for RitFit. Is it just in the home gym community? Is it through a dealer network, right? Is it studio gyms? Is it commercial gyms? Is it right? So our options are open. We want to stay true to self always. So we never want to lose, that simple, strong, and effective mindset. But we are fluid. We are a growing brand. And we're gonna basically go where we flow, and I think it's a good path for us, because if the need's there and people are wanting our equipment, whether that's in the home gym community, studio gyms, like I said, commercial gyms, hotels, what have you, we want to be there. Like I said earlier in the podcast, we want to have solutions for everybody. I mean, so it's simple, strong, and effective. And then if you look at our slogan, it's a gym of your own, right? So we want everybody to be able to have accessible, equipment and create a gym of their own. If you're in an apartment, if you're in a house, if you're in a basement, in a garage, in a hotel, we want to be able to provide those solutions.
Cool. What does the team look like?
So we have over 100 team members internationally. We have our factory workers, right? That are welding and powder coating and things like that. The leadership team, I'll let Tom talk more about that here in just a second. Our product engineering team, I think it's just shy of 20 people in our research and development team. They're all engineers, obviously. So, and then our marketing team, when I said that 100, that's included in that 100 is so the marketing team, customer service team, sales team, those are included in there. From a leadership perspective, and I think it's a good thing. I'll let Tom talk more about it, but it's pretty tight knit. Kind of the main leadership of RitFit. It's driven by a few people, and I think that's what keeps the communication clear, easy, right? It's one word, right? That goes to 5 people or 6 people, and it gets throughout the entire organization. And I think that's a positive thing. But yeah, Tom, if you want to talk to just kind of like the leadership.
Yeah, for sure. So, back in 2017, when I joined RipFit, it was possibly like, it just possibly about like 20 to 30 employees. Like Matt just mentioned, we had like, a head count now a little bit over 100. So the team has grown 5 times, like, over the last 8 years. Like, it's very difficult, like, when you manage, like, the scale of people. So we still have, like, all those core functional departments, like, Matt just mentioned, like, we have this frontline, creative department, marketing, e-commerce team, graphic design, product designs, all this. But also we have core functional team, like, accounting, operational, logistics, like, human resources, all those departments, like, equally important. If you miss any of those, like, the whole structure, it won't run like, smoothly and efficiently. And we also have like a special team just for a specific, like, the Japanese market. But later on, like, probably might integrate it, like, back to our e-commerce team. So if we do have like specific need for specific customers, we can restructure our company. That's no problem. Like, just to meet like customers' need. And also like, we have like, our showroom team, like, back in California. Right now, like, Matt is leading a new department, product, strategy and innovation. And I hope that like, Matt would grow this team, like, um, a lot, like, by a lot, like, in Ohio. So that would bring a lot values to the team. So what we focus on, like, the team management, like, we just have this philosophy when we manage the team, like, all the team members, they have to work together. Collaboration is very essential in our company. Like, that's how you, manage your, like, your, assignment operations, like, efficiently. For example, marketing team, like, if they want to host an event, they rely on, like, information from the product team, you know, rely on assets from graphic design team, logistic rely on, like, logistic team. So like each department, like, get to learn, like, different departments, like function, like, everyone get a chance, know about, like, what other people do. So this is very essential to our company. And like Matt just said, like, the leadership team, like, we have few people making decisions, like, we really, that really enables us to make decision very fast and then just go from top to down, and then we can execute it, fast and efficiently.
Got it.
That's pretty much
All
it.
right. Yeah. Yeah. What about how would you say you look at or compare yourself to some of the other companies, larger companies within the US, like Rogue, Bells of Steel, Fringe, Titan? How would you say you compare to them? Or how do you see yourselves in differentiating from them? And then also, Would be curious to hear one thing that you think RipFit does better than any gym equipment manufacturer in the world.
All right. Yeah, I can answer this question. So like,
It's a good question,
um,
Jake.
yeah, it's a good question. Thank you, Jake. Yeah. Back in August, like, I had like this very interesting conversation with John, like, from Garage Gym Reviews. So we were talking about the automobile, like, in industries, like, you have different tiers of cars, like, you have like, brands like Mercedes, BMW, and Audi. And also you have like, like second tier brand like Honda and Toyota. So like, so I kind of agree with like, and John, like, we just have to focus on ourselves, like, position ourselves to offer more like, affordable, budget friendly home gym equipment. That's what we do. We're not trying to like copy like, other major players, like, like the brand you just mentioned. Really just focus on like, just stay in our lanes, like, doing our own things, and continually like, just provide good quality equipment to our customer. So I think long term, like, this approach would like, attract our customers, like, looking for more like in value and affordability. Okay. And you just talk about how we're gonna differentiate ourselves, like, to all these major players. For example, like, that's inevitable, like, like people would look at like, buying an equipment, for example, like all-in-one functional trainer. Like the other brand have it, and then we have it. It really depends on the customers, like, depends on the budget, like, how much they can spend, like, and the functionality, and, capability, like, capacity, like, how much weight it can handle. So this is really to like, the core question, how we're gonna set us apart from like, those major players. For example, like, we integrate like, like hybrid equipment to our rack. For example, the 3D Smith machine, the, or John's machine to our rack, and make it more unique, or provide more like more mobility to the product. And also uh, aesthetic wise, like, we provide more distinct colors of weight plates and barbell to our customers, and also launching like, different series, kind of like, standout products. For example, we have this like, pig series, leopard series, and patriotic series. And it really helps us, set apart from those major players.
Yeah. Also, I think um, one thing I've learned in my personal life, right? As I've grown in my career, is don't try to compare yourself to anybody else, right? You what you really need to do, just outdo yourself, right? Get 1% better every day, right? Just try to outdo yourself, right? And at the end of the day, that's like if you're always looking around what everybody else is doing, right? You're gonna be lost, right? You're just, oh, look at what they're doing, look at what they're doing. Like we definitely need to keep up with what's going on in the home gym community, and that's why we're going to these events and these expos, and reading. We're everywhere, like in social media. We're reading, like leadership team, the owner of the company is probably reading your feedback, like whoever's leaving it, right? Doesn't mean it does,
Mhm.
even if you're not the influencer that has 500,000 followers, maybe you got 100. He's probably reading your review. He's probably reading your feedback on his equipment, right? On our equipment, right? The marketing team is doing the same thing. So we're really focused on ourselves, trying to make sure that we're doing the best that we can and doing that 1% better every day. And with that being said, I believe that that's going to put us, in our own category, in our own path. We're going to, try to blaze our own path, but we do definitely need to keep up with the industry. And we are. I mean, I know what's coming out. I think every fitness brand knows what somebody else is coming out with, right? I mean, if you should, if you're if you're in the industry, you should know what's going on in the industry. So we know what's coming out, we know when it's coming out, we know all that other good stuff. And then I think what's going to set us apart, I think, um, for me, like I think some people, once you choose a brand, once you choose a message, once you buy into what somebody is, right? You don't, like, at the end of the day, I think Tom said it, all in one rack. is going to be an all-in-one rack. But there's going to be some slight differences, right? Gauge of material, types of material, plastic, aluminum, cable, capacity, stainless steel, hollow or solid, right? So there's going to be some differences. But at the end of the day, even us as individuals, when we have those relationships, and that's what I think we want to build is a relationship with our customers. Um, it is, you buy into the person, right? With that relationship, you buy into the brand, you buy into the message, you buy into what we stand for. Like Tom said, we're in nonprofits. Before I started with RitFit, I'm like, how does RitFit give away, right? All these things to all these people. Like if you go and look on our website, you could apply if you're disabled. We have a disability program. Like it's like 5 or 10 people a month where we basically give them, racks, home gym equipment. Like how do we just give all this stuff away and help the community? I mean, but it's not even a how do we, it's we have to. Like that's who we are, right? That's who we say we are. That's what we have to do, and if that costs the business, then it costs the business some money. But at the end of the day, we say we are one way and we need to be that way, So I think staying true to our core, being fluid, being flexible, listening to customer feedback, I think all that's going to set us apart from the brands, whether you're talking about the brands you mentioned or other ones. I think we're growing our team. I think the owner of our organization is very ingrained in the business. He's very, I mean, he's a part of all of the product, development, conversations. He's a part of every meeting that we have. Like he wants to make sure that we're moving the company in the right direction. So I think it's important to us. I think again the how fluid we're able to be because of our setup. I think that'll set us apart.
Cool. I feel like I already know know kind of what you're gonna say to this. This is kind of like the last thing I have. Would you say RitFit will be in like 5 years? Also, if you have any insights into where you think just like this home gym scene, home gym community will be in 5 years, that might be interesting as well.
So from my perspective, the home gym community, I think it's going to do nothing but grow. I think it's a leech. I think it's a parasite that grabs onto to us and it sticks on and doesn't let you go. Um, I think that the bigger the community gets, right? People go sometimes to commercial gyms, right, to get it, into a community, right? But now that this community is growing even more and more since COVID, I think it's just going to attract more and more people into this community. The offerings, the affordability, So in my perspective, I think that the home gym community will grow a lot more than what it is right now. That's just my perspective on that. And then for RitFit, for our organization, I think we're going to stay true to our core values. I think we're going to be, still creating equipment that's simple, strong, and effective. But I think you're going to see us in a lot more places. I think you're going to see us in a lot more expos. I think you're going to see us in a lot more facilities. I think you're going to see us, even our footprint, you'll see us in more places throughout the United States, not just in California, not just in Ohio. Um, so we're going to be around. We're going to be here. We're going to, make ourselves known, but we're going to continue being who we are at the end of the day. Tom, do you have anything to add or?
Yeah, I mean, like, Matt covered pretty much. But like, I just want to add something to it, like, about the home gym community. So that's my first impression about a HomeGymCon is the community. It's very inclusive, like, people very nice to each other, like, and we kind of, stick to each other. It's like, have this kind of like family like, group of people. I just hope that, like, us definitely HomeGymCon gonna grow, the home gym community gonna grow, and hopefully we're not gonna lose that sense of, like, being part of the community. Like, like as the community grow, definitely we'll spread out. Like, we have more people to join, but like, at the same time, we have to make sure we are more like, cohesive, like, and stick to each other, kind of like a family. Um, so that's my perspective about the HomeGymCon. And in the home gym community. For RipFit, like, like Matt just mentioned, we're going to have more footprints, like, across the country and also across the globe. And for me, like, one of my focuses on, like, talent recruiting. We want to grow our team in the US as well, like, to grow more, like, in innovation, product innovations. I have people to work on creating a product, like, that's the core value, like, of the brand, like, what makes you different, the product, right? Like, if you bring, like, a unique product to the table, you draw all the attention. And well, it's not just unique, but, like, effective, like, or um all this, like, for the home gym community. So that's my goal, like, as I'm the showroom manager at Chino Hills. But, like, over time I kind of expand my position to different areas, like, finance, accounting. I have to make sure all this stuff, like, coordinated, like, make sure that the company grows, like, with compliance to all this legal stuff, like, and make sure the company grows, like, healthily. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I
Cool.
mean, with that being said, as we grow our footprint, I mean, we'll be out on the lookout for, some good talent, and it's going to be exciting. I mean, I thought there's no other word I think for it than
Yeah,
it's going to be
Matt,
exciting.
maybe you want to plug where in Ohio you're at and,
Yeah.
contact info and if you're interested in working for RipFit.
Yeah. So, well, first off, I'm in Mason, Ohio. For those of you guys who are over here on the East Coast, I live like, well, the workshop is like 8 minutes from Kings Island. So, and then you could email me. I mean, you can get on my social medias or you could email me. It's Matt, Matt dot Baleanu at ritfitsports.com. So either one, you could either email me directly or send me a DM through my social media accounts. Either one will work. But yeah, so I think there's quite a few people, I mean, that are close to the area. I mean, I've connected with, Kurt and a few others that are,
Yeah.
pretty close.
Yeah. That's a hotbed. Um, Anything else you guys would want to cover while you're here? Anything I missed?
I think we went over pretty much everything that we had looked at going over. I just want to, encourage the community to, continue providing feedback. Like if you want a solution, it may not come out, tomorrow, but we will drive towards solutions that you're looking for. So, continue sharing feedback on our product or on something you'd like to see made. And again, if you want to, partner together in the future for, some ideas or what have you, I mean, reach out. Like, we're fluid. We're going to be around long term. We're going to grow. But I mean, another thing is a thank you to the home gym community. We wouldn't be who we are, without the community. So, and then Jake, also thank you because, again, the location of where HomeGymCon is, like where I am, it kind of all just things make sense to kind of set up shop. So, your business, is driving other businesses, right, to, to set up, shop in and around the area, so, kudos to you and thank you, to you. So,
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. Right back at you guys. Thanks for your investment into all of this stuff. It takes two different parties to kind of come together to, like you said, hopefully make this community grow even more. You need welcoming and generous people on one end, and then you also need like cool products to bring more people in, and that's something you guys are both doing. Uh, both both of those things you guys are doing well. So, um, yeah, appreciate the time, Matt and Tom. If I don't catch you before next July, then I'll see you at Home Gym Con.
all right, we'll see you there.
Thank,
See you
thank you a
guys.
lot,
Thank
Jake.
you.
All
Yeah.
Appreciate
right,
it.
Thanks a
thanks,
lot.
guys.